Today we have ourselves a nice, nasty, rainy day. I know, the worst. And you're probably thinking, can I have my septic system still function in the rain? Let's talk about it. Before we get into this though, leave a comment down below. When's the last time that you cleaned out your gutters on your house? We've talked about septic systems plenty of times on this channel. That's kind of like what we do, right? But we've not really discussed all that often rain. And today, with it being nasty and wet, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and have that conversation. Septic systems are designed to deal with water, specifically wastewater. That means any of the water coming from your toilet, your shower, your sink, all of that stuff, the liquids and the solids, have to go somewhere. The septic system is designed to deal with both of those aspects. The tank is going to deal with the solids, and the absorption system is going to deal with the liquids. A septic tank is just a big concrete box. Typically, they're 10 foot by 5 foot and 8 foot by 4 foot. They're a big box, basically the size of a car. In this big box, all of the stuff that comes from the house is going to have a chance to separate out. The advice I usually give to people to visualize what's going on beyond the photo that you see on the screen for your septic system is go ahead and take a cup of water and some bread yeast. Mix it together, and you will watch after about a half hour of setting it on the counter, most of that yeast will fall to the bottom as a nice thick brown layer, a light tan layer in the middle, and you will see some white foamy stuff on top. When it comes to a septic tank, essentially what we're going to see is scum at the top, effluent in the middle, and sludge at the bottom. Scum is this nasty stuff that you obviously can see is going to be an amalgamation of greases, fats, oils, hair, toilet paper, all the stuff that floats combines into one mass and it just kind of sits on top of the surface. Effluent is a fancy way of saying wastewater. It's poo water, right? It's all that liquid from the toilets and the sinks all kind of meshed together. Sludge is exactly what you think it is. It's a really thick, really sticky substance that ends up at the bottom of the tank. The reason you want to clarify everything inside of a tank is because you want to get the liquid as clear as possible into the absorption system so that we can get that system to last longer. When it comes to a septic tank, you have to pump it out regularly. And how you know when it's time to pump it is using a device called a sludge judge. Or if you're like me, you can call it a fancy poop hole. The sludge judge allows you to measure how much sludge is at the bottom of the tank. It helps you figure out how full the system is. Now, our state guidance is about 30% of the tank's total capacity. Once you reach that in sludge, it's time to pump it out. Most homeowners aren't going to want to, one, buy a sludge judge, and two, they're not going to want to really keep a sludge judge. They're kind of gross. And they're kind of gross because they're doing exactly what you think they're doing. It's measuring sludge. Once that liquid is clarified, it goes to your drain field, your dry well, whatever you have for your absorption area. The drain field, for example, is just a trench with stone and a perforated pipe. And the objective of said drain field is to get rid of the liquid. So you put 10 gallons in the tank, solids will fall out of suspension, and then 10 gallons will work its way over into the drain fields. At which point that water will work its way into the soil and nature's cycle continues. So this brings us back to rain. When it comes to rain, we have to think about how much are we getting. A typical septic system is designed to deal with 150 gallons of water per day per bedroom. I don't know about your area, but that's how we do it over here. Your area might be different. The math might be a little bit different. Let's talk about that math for a second. So we have 150 gallons of water per day per bedroom, and we have a 3-bedroom unit. This means that we have 450 gallons of water that we need to be able to process every single day. So if 450 gallons of water is your daily peak flow and you have an inch of rain, that's a lot of extra water, which you may not be able to deal with, especially if you have 5 or 6 people living in that 3-bedroom house. We assume 75 gallons of water per person per day. Where rain usually gets people in trouble are those pesky downspouts. If you as a homeowner decide to run some downspouts underground or change the direction of them, and you just happen to throw it right on top of your septic tank, guess what? You're putting a lot of extra water on that system. Sometimes what can happen with these downspouts is soil erosion. If you leave that downspout sitting over top of the tank, depending on the pitch of the hill, you may run a lot of that dirt off of the tank itself, meaning the tank is now exposed, which could be a tripping hazard or potentially allow, kids to mess with the lids. It kind of depends on how big your kids are and how curious they want to be. Most septic lids are too heavy for a kid to pick up, but just make sure you keep them buried. That's why with manhole risers, they bolt them onto the riser itself, so that way the kid can't unbolt it unless they know where to find the tools. Keep your tools hidden. If you put your downspouts over top of your septic tank, and all of those downspouts are going to take all of that water from your roof and dump it on one singular point, guess what? However big your house is, or however big that roof is, now you're putting in a significant amount of water right on top of the tank. These tanks, the lids are not like sealed. They're just sitting on it. It's just a concrete circle or square, depending on how it's built, but it's just kind of sitting right on top of the tank. There's no gasket, there's no seal, there's no cement to plug the gaps. So if you dump 1,000 gallons of water on a tank, not all of it's going to get into the tank, but some of it will, right? Some of it will get through those gaps and into the system. So where you run into problems is if you have a house that's at max occupancy and you have this downspout directed right on top of your trench or your septic tank, you're putting an additional stress on that system. The additional stress that you put on the system is potentially going to cause it to fail. Failure is never fun because it's expensive. Even the simple act of dumping that water on the drain field itself, not specifically the septic tank, could be enough to swamp it out. Now, if you let it sit dry for a little while, it'll eventually recover. But for example, today, it's been raining for the last 3 days, and the weather app says it's going to rain for the next 6. So you would want to risk having basically 2 weeks where you couldn't really flush the toilet or have the risk of sewage coming back to your house? Sounds like a bad idea to me. People also run into the same kind of issue when it comes to discharging water from their pools. It seems for whatever reason when people are swapping out the water or closing it for the season, pool guys always end up dumping all that water on the septic tank for some reason. Doing this is, again, going to do basically the same thing as rainwater. It's just now you're flooding it out much faster. The best practice when it comes to rainwater mitigation is to get it as far away from the septic system as possible. I recognize that on some properties, you don't have that capability. You might have a tight lot, you might have a weird shape of the house, the septic system might be put in a weird position in relation to the house, and that's okay. What you want to do in those circumstances is at least extend the piping as far as you can. Corrugated pipe doesn't cost that much. Schedule 40 PVC doesn't cost that much. If you're going to bury your discharge lines for your downspouts, use PVC pipe. You'll thank me later. You get it as far away from the septic as possible, and then you don't have to worry about it. I would at least aim to try and get it at least 10 foot away from the tank. And about the same for the septic system's absorption area. That one might be a little bit harder if you don't know exactly where that is, though. Hopefully, whenever you have your septic system pumped, your septic guy could be able to help you out, but don't expect him to do it for free because that does take a little bit of extra time. So what we learned from this is don't put your downspouts over top your septic systems, otherwise you're going to swamp it out and you're not going to have a great time. Rainwater is accounted for when you're designing a septic system, but when you're designing a septic system, there's only so much water that you're designing for it to deal with on a daily basis. So you want to make sure that you're not over-saturating your absorption system by putting too much water in the system. If you enjoyed this video, if you found this useful in any way, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and as always, I have videos posted every day on the World of Well and Septic, and I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.